I realized shortly after I got here that my lifetime supply of shampoo was probably not the best addition to my suitcase. Hello everybody and welcome to Life in Germany. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Jenna. I am a Canadian living in Germany and I'm reminiscing on all the experiences I've had thus far as a foreigner living in Germany. Today we're going to go through something that is always constantly brought up in my life, even today, 6 years later, and that is, what did I pack and what did I not pack that I wish that I had or hadn't? Of course, this goes without saying that for many people, this is always going to be different. So I'm super interested to know what you guys really miss from home and wish you had have brought, and what you realized was absolutely silly that you decided to trek halfway across the world to bring to a new country. Still so many things that I wish I had have brought to Germany, which instead I got rid of or I left behind. If you are planning on moving to Germany and asking yourself whether or not you should be hiring a moving company to make that big move, I'm going to include a few tips at the end of this video which go through things that you really need to consider before you hire a moving company. So stay tuned and we will go through that information in a little bit. I want to mention before we get started that you're going to start realizing when you move here year by year that there are some things that you can easily substitute in life that you didn't realize was possible, and you're really going to be able to push your creativity and your strength to keep creating new ideas and new substitutes for the things that you had back home. I personally love it now. I've made so many substitutes of the things that I've missed, and you actually start to become really comfortable with life in Germany that you might actually realize that a couple years down the road there are actually some things that you would prefer to take from Germany if you were moving back home to, say, the USA or to Canada or India or New Zealand, wherever that might be. You might actually start falling in love with some German products and really missing them when you go back home. So first things first, there are some essentials that regardless of where you're coming from, you are going to need to bring with you to Germany. That is your passport. Of course, you're not going to get very far without it. Your birth certificate you should always have with you. Your marriage certificate, if you're married, make sure you bring that. You might have to get it translated while you're here. You can also bring bank statements. That can be super important, especially if you're crossing over the border. They might ask because they want to make sure that you can support yourself living here in Germany. Any degrees and certifications you have are also really helpful, because even if you're coming and you already have a job here in Germany, you never know what might happen next, right? And so I decided a couple years ago to apply for another university program. And of course, they ask for all of those degrees and certifications, which the original copies were all back at home in Canada. So it just makes it a lot easier if you're able to bring those documents with you. If you have a copy of any of your medical records and your history, it's always good to bring that along as well, because of course, when you move here, you're gonna need to search for a new family doctor. And lastly, of course, you're going to be bringing this hopefully on your hard drive or on your computer, but make sure that you have a copy of your resume and your cover letter. You might need to alter them a little bit, because even if you are looking for an international job in Germany, having your original cover letter and resume reconfigured into this German appropriate resume and cover letter might help you in the job process. As I mentioned, throughout the years, you're going to realize that there are a lot of things that you're able to substitute, but if you're looking to settle in right away, or perhaps you're moving here just for a couple of years and don't want to give up those comfort items that you have back home with you, here are some things to consider bringing to Germany. And don't forget that I am coming from Canada, so I'm hoping that my tips here will help inspire you to think of some other things that you might want to bring with you from your home country. So number one is definitely comfort foods. And coming from North America, there are so many comfort foods that even today, 6 years later, I still crave every once in a while. Of course, I don't need them, but it's always nice to have in your home and always kind of reminds me of being back home. And for me, that is anything from Kraft peanut butter, Arm & Hammer baking soda, chocolate chips, vanilla extract, Crest toothpaste, those plastic shower liners, Canadian measuring cups, deodorant sticks, They love the aerosol ones here or the liquid roll-on, so I love my deodorant sticks from home. English books, craft dinner, cereal, Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. There's a long list. We could go on forever. Maybe that's a video for later. Let me know if that's something that might interest you. There's also a bunch of comfort foods that I would love to take from Germany back to Canada when I go and visit. But again, another video. Number 2 is electronics. So this is a tricky one because you need to consider the fact that the voltage here in Germany is different than in North America or perhaps where you lived before. So make sure you check that out beforehand. But if the voltage is different, I would say it's not really in your best interest to be bringing over all of those large appliances. However, there are some electronics that are of course worth bringing, and that is your laptop. I still use my Canadian MacBook. I just have the international plug that I use every day, and it doesn't bother me. Electronics in North America can be a lot cheaper than in Germany. For example, the MacBooks can usually be a couple €100 cheaper if you choose to buy them in North America. But anything else like your camera or your iPod or your iPhone or whatever that might be, it's always good to refresh on all of your small electronics and bring them over. Clothing and shoes I find to be a lot cheaper in North America and other places around the world than they are in Germany. Don't get me wrong, in Germany they do have discount stores. They have C&A, they have Primark, they have TK Maxx, which is TJ Maxx in the USA. They do have a lot of affordable clothing options here, but if you're looking for brand names or you have some favorite stores back home, definitely stock up on those clothes because I tend to find that clothing and shoes in Germany can be rather expensive. Furniture is this big iffy one for a lot of people, and that's because obviously you don't want to regret hiring this massive moving truck and shipping over all of this furniture that you're not sure if you even need when you get there. Furniture in Germany isn't that expensive, and they do have some really good second-hand items here that you can buy. So I would suggest if you're going to be shipping over IKEA furniture, I would just leave it at home. We have IKEA here, and the furniture here is quite affordable. However, if there are things that are really sentimental to you or of high quality that you really want to bring over, I would say do it because there are a few pieces that I left back home that I just thought I didn't need and that I would really love to have here in Germany now that I know that I'm living here forever, possibly. Beds and mattresses and sheets are entirely different from Germany to Canada, so depending on where you're moving might be different, but the bed sizes here in Germany are different than in Canada. We also use the fitted sheet and then a loose sheet and then a comforter in Canada. I actually mentioned in a recent video about the culture shocks that I had here in Germany, and I will just link that for you above, but about the bedding and how we sleep with 2 different sheets here in Germany. So finding the big massive sheet for like a king size bed can be rather difficult here. So if you're going to bring furniture over, I would say bring it all, because if you bring mattresses over, they might not fit on the bed frames in Germany, or if you bring a bed frame, you might not find the mattresses to fit. You might not find the loose sheet. I don't use the loose sheet anymore because I've totally gotten used to this German style of just having the fitted sheet and the comforter, and I absolutely love it, but that's also something to consider. We've talked about pillows also in one of our videos before. The pillows in Germany are a little bit different than in North America, so if you love your pillow, definitely bring it. Even if you're not hiring a moving company, I would suggest bringing it on the plane with you because it'll be worth it. Just make sure that you're bringing the right sheets to fit those pillows, because you can't really find a set that has the size pillowcases you'd like plus the right size of the bed. So I would say if you're bringing anything regarding bedding or beds or furniture, I would just make sure you bring the whole set with you. Kitchens are another one that a lot of people question. Should or should I not bring it to Germany? Germany does sell some really awesome kitchens, but this is also a tricky one again, because let's say, for example, you want to bring all of your bakeware here to put in your German oven, but ovens in Germany tend to be a little bit on the smaller side compared to North America, so your bakeware might not even fit in that oven. And as promised, before I head out, some tips if you're planning on hiring a moving company. So I talked to my friends over at Smoover, and if you haven't heard about Smoover before and you're an English speaker planning on moving to Germany, before you book that moving company, you should really check them out. They basically help English speakers relocate to Germany by finding the appropriate moving company for you, providing all of that information in English, and it really gives you this hassle-free move that a lot of people tend to struggle with. I had a guest writer actually post something the other day about moving from the UK to Germany. I will include it in the description below as well, but she goes through, I think, 6 things not to do when relocating to Germany, and a lot of that has to do with hiring the appropriate moving company, so I found that really interesting. So we'll go through a few of them today that Smover told me about that I'd love to share with you guys as well. Before you hire any moving company, make sure that you have full inventory of what you are packing. Mistakes do happen, so it's always important to have that list ready to go before you hire any company. If you need things to be assembled or disassembled, make sure that you also have a list of which items need to be assembled and disassembled, because that will also make a difference in pricing. It is also good to note how easy or how difficult the move might be, so letting the moving company know how many flights of stairs they have to climb, if there's an elevator, and that goes without saying that that's from where you're moving out of to where you're moving into. You should also make sure that the moving company you go with is fully insured. This can be one of the easiest mistakes to make, and this is something that Smover also told me is so important. They always make sure that the companies that they work with are fully insured, because if anything gets broken or anything does happen, of course, you don't want to be held liable for the mistakes that the moving company made. And the biggest one of all for a lot of internationals moving to Germany is you want to hire a moving company that speaks English, that can understand you. Some of them speak this little Danglish, half English, half German. It might confuse you even more, but for very obvious reasons, it can often be really important that the movers do understand English entirely, so that they don't make the mistakes of packaging something somewhere and then you not finding it or not knowing exactly where to pack what. There's also other things to consider, like parking when they get there, whether or not you want them to pack the boxes up for you, etc. So I am actually going to link a post below. We worked with Smover on a blog post on life in Düsseldorf, and they share even more tips about things that you need to consider before hiring a moving company. So I hope that that really helps you guys out if you're really considering hiring a moving company. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you enjoy this content, and make sure you click on that bell if you want to see content like this coming your way in your notifications very soon. That's all for me today. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If there's anything else you'd love to hear about, or you want to know different stories or experiences that I've had, or tips about anything else regarding relocating to Germany, just let me know in the comment section below, and I will try to create some awesome YouTube videos to keep you guys entertained and informed when moving to Germany. Tschüss!